Man City and Liverpool are usually the big names we talk about when it comes to winning the Premier League, right? But guess who's crashing the party this season? Yeah, Nottingham Forest.
Earlier about the only team that can stop this Liverpool team is of course Forest.
If you've been off the grid for the past 6 months, this might sound insane. They're sitting third in the Premier League, tied with Arsenal for second and only 6 points behind Liverpool. And just recently, they absolutely destroyed Wolves 3-0.
Tim, this is Ward-Prowse.
Yes!
That's 6 wins in a row for them. Can you believe it? This is the same Nottingham Forest that barely survived relegation last season, and now they're chasing a Premier League title. Does this remind you of anyone? Leicester City, maybe? Remember when they shocked the world and won the league?
Premier League champions 2016, Leicester City!
Forest feels like they're channeling that same underdog magic. Their run has been incredible. Since December, they've taken down big names: Man United, Aston Villa, Tottenham, you name it. And with that 3-0 win over Wolves, they've now won 6 straight top-flight games for the first time since 1966-67. Now, let's talk numbers. 10 wins in the last 13 games. They've already hit 40 points this season. For context, last season, they scraped together just 32 points and barely avoided relegation. This transformation is nothing short of mind-blowing. Nuno's team has completely flipped the script. Last season, they were in survival mode. This season, they're in the title race. Seriously, how did that happen? You're about to find that out, but first, you see that subscribe button to Football Historia? Click it so you don't miss out on any of the channel's latest action.
This is still a long, long way to go, but you can only commend what you've seen so far. And this season, results-wise, Nottingham Forest have been absolutely incredible, above and beyond what anyone could have predicted.
Yeah.
Alright, maybe you're all a little surprised about how well Nottingham Forest is doing now, but come on, let's not forget who they are. This is a legendary club we're talking about. They've won the European Cup twice. Twice! That's basically the Champions League today, and only 6 English clubs have ever managed to do it. That's some seriously elite company. And that's not all. Throw in a Super Cup, a league title, and 2 FA Cups. Their glory days? Oh, that was under the iconic duo of Brian Clough and Peter Taylor. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, these guys turned Forest into giants. They won those back-to-back European Cups in 1979 and 1980, 2 years in a row. But then the magic wore off and the fall was brutal. By 2005, they hit rock bottom. Forest, a club that had conquered Europe, was relegated to the 3rd division. 3rd division! That's almost unthinkable, right? It took them a few years to climb back to the Championship, but they couldn't quite crack the Premier League. Twice they made it to the playoffs and twice they fell short. Heartbreaking doesn't even begin to cover it. And let's be honest, the next few years were rough. Forest became a bit of a mess, constantly switching managers but never finding their rhythm. Colin Calderwood got sacked on Boxing Day in 2009 after a humiliating loss to dead last Doncaster Rovers. Then Billy Davies got the axe in 2011, and Steve McLaren, he didn't last long either. He quit when relegation loomed. It was a circus and nothing seemed to work. Now enter Steve Cooper in September 2021.
Now, bottom of the Championship, Nottingham Forest have appointed Steve Cooper as their new head coach on a deal until the summer of 2023.
When he took over, Forest was at the very bottom of the league. But what happened next? It was pure magic. Cooper turned everything around. By the end of the season, Forest finished 4th and won the playoff final against Huddersfield Town.
Oh, great ball in, it's in!
That's right. After 23 long years, Nottingham Forest was back in the Premier League. Once they got back, Forest went all in. They broke their transfer record 3 times. Yeah, 3. They signed players like Taiwo Awoniyi, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Ibrahim Sangare. But here's the thing, people gave them so much flack for signing over 20 players when they returned to the Premier League. But think about it, they had no choice. Most of their squad was made up of loan players who left. They didn't have a team anymore, so they had to rebuild from scratch. Of course, getting so many new players to click is not easy. Just look at Chelsea in the past few years. It was chaos trying to get everyone on the same page. Still, Forest managed to hang on. In the 2023 season, they finished 16th. It was close, but they pulled it off. And let's not forget those massive wins at home against Liverpool and Arsenal. Talk about confidence boosters. But then came the next season, and things didn't quite go to plan. By December 2023, it was clear the team were struggling. They were 17th in the league, and the club had to make a really tough decision.
Let's start, though, with the breaking news in the last half an hour. Steve Cooper has been sacked as the Nottingham Forest manager.
Steve Cooper, the man who brought them back to the Premier League, was let go. It was the end of an era. Forest turned to Nuno Espírito Santo, hoping he could steady the ship and lead them to better days.
Nottingham Forest have confirmed the appointment of Nuno Espírito Santo as first-team head coach.
Now, this guy isn't a stranger to the Premier League. Remember, he's managed Wolves and Tottenham before. But here's the thing. Some people used to say he got lucky at Wolves, claiming his players did most of the work. Well, those people are eating their words now because Nuno has proven he's the real deal, a top-class coach who knows exactly what he's doing. But let me tell you, his situation at Forest was tough. He didn't even have a pre-season to work with the team. And to make things even harder, Forest was hit with a 4-point deduction last season for breaking financial rules. 4 points. That's huge when you're fighting to stay in the league. Oh, and don't forget all the VAR drama with Everton. It was everywhere. The chaos was unreal. And here's the thing. Pre-season is where you do 80% of the work. It's not just about tactics, it's about building team spirit, getting the players to buy into your ideas and creating that bond that makes a team click. Think back to Leicester City when they won the Premier League. They didn't have the flashiest squad, but they had a perfect balance. Mahrez, Vardy, Kante brought the magic, while guys like Albrighton, Fuchs and Huff put in hard graft. That's what made them unstoppable. And that's the kind of balance Nuno needed to create. But without a pre-season, talk about starting from behind. Even with all that stacked against him, Nuno didn't waste time. He's known for his counter-attacking style and he got Forest playing his way right away. His first big win? A massive 3-1 victory over Newcastle. And then the moment that made headlines. Forest beat Man United 2-1. Let me say that again. Forest beat United for the first time in 29 years.
Lays it off for Gibbs White. Yeah!
That's the kind of win that gets the fans dreaming again. And on the final day of the season, they beat Burnley in a must-win game and it saved the team from relegation. Here's the thing about Nuno. He's pragmatic. He tightened up Forest's leaky defence and made them tough to break down. They went from a team that couldn't stop conceding to one that was organised and disciplined. His 4-2-3-1 formation gave the defence the cover it needed, while setting up for quick, deadly counter-attacks. And coming into this season, let's be honest, nobody expected much from Forest. They barely survived relegation 2 years in a row, and even after spending big, they still struggled. Last season they finished with just 32 points, the lowest total ever for a team that still managed to stay up. But under Nuno, this team is completely different. He's turned them into a resilient, dangerous side that no one wants to go up against.
And then they've done what they've done all season. On the break, swift, fast, slick, as I said, taking the opportunities.
Nuno's counter-attacking style is working wonders, especially with players like Callum Hudson-Odoi and Anthony Elanga. Remember, they were once seen as future stars at Chelsea and Man United, and now they're thriving under Nuno's system. Elanga is one of those players who lights up a game, isn't he? This guy came through Man United's academy, and now under Nuno, he's absolutely thriving at Forest. His speed is blistering. His work rate is relentless. You can tell Nuno is making the most of his pace by unleashing him on counter-attacks. Sure, his finishing and decision-making still needs work, but the way he terrorizes defenses with his athleticism is exactly what this Forest team needs. And with 3 goals and 4 assists already this season, well, that's something. And then you've got Callum Hudson-Odoi. Remember the hype around him at Chelsea? Bayern Munich were desperate to get him back then. Injuries might have slowed him down, but now he's back in full force, and there's no better way to prove this than what he did against Liverpool.
Hudson-Odoi single-minded.
Swoosh! On the left wing, he's like an artist with the ball, cutting inside, picking out teammates with these insane passes, and scoring goals himself. The way he drifts inside or roams around the pitch, he's impossible to track. Put Elanga and Hudson-Odoi together and you've got pure magic. Elanga's speed and directness combined with Hudson-Odoi's creativity, it's everything you want in a counter-attacking team. Defenders just can't keep up with them. It's like they're always one step ahead. And holding it all together is Morgan Gibbs White. What a player! He's the brain behind every Forest attack. Winning the ball back, he's there. Picking the perfect pass? Yeah, he's already done it. When Forest break, Gibbs White is the guy driving forward and making it all happen.
Who's the most important player that you need to stay fit if you're going to push all the way?
It's got to be Gibbs White, hasn't it, really?
Yeah. He's exceptional, isn't he?
He makes the team tick from the back to the front.
His ability to operate in tight spaces and link up with players like Elanga and Chris Wood is just incredible to watch. And speaking of Chris Wood, wow, he is having a season to remember. This guy is the definition of an old-school target man, and he's dominating. 12 goals in 20 games already, that's unreal. At 6'3", he's a nightmare in the air, scoring headers for fun, and his hold-up play gives Forest the perfect platform to attack. Honestly, he's proving that the classic striker is far from dead. And don't overlook how Nuno has transformed this team's set pieces. Forest were never known for their dead ball threat, but now they're scoring all the time from corners and free kicks. It's clear Nuno knows the value of those moments and he's made them count. Oh, and let's not forget the smart transfers Nuno brought in. Elliot Anderson for creativity and Morato for defensive solidity. But while the attack has been stealing the spotlight, Forest defense has been quietly brilliant. Murillo has been a revelation at the back. He's not the tallest defender, but wow, he's got everything you want. His positioning is spot on, his reading of the game is next level, and he's so smooth with the ball at his feet. He's the modern defender every team dreams of having. And then there's Milenkovic. This guy is a giant at 6'5", and he's an absolute wall in the air. Since coming in from Fiorentina, he's been the leader of this defense, commanding everything at the back. Forest fans can't stop talking about him, and for good reason. He's been a game changer.
They've taken the lead. Milenkovic not home.
You can't ignore the fullbacks either. Ola Aina, Alex Moreno, and sometimes even Neco Williams have all been outstanding. They're not just defensively solid, they're fearless when they surge forward to join the attack. This backline is a nightmare to break down, and when they get the chance, they'll hit you hard on the counter. And then there's the keeper situation. Matt Turner had a rough time last season, but bringing in Matt Sells? That's a genius move.
For me, Matt Sells, goalkeeper, best goalkeeper in the Premier League this season.
Sells has been phenomenal between the sticks, making clutch saves and keeping things tight. Forest has only conceded 19 goals this season. That's just insane. Nuno deserves all the credit for this transformation. He's turned Forest into a rock-solid defensive unit that's also electrifying on the counter. They're not just surviving in the league anymore, they're thriving. Watching this team is actually fun now. What's so impressive is the balance. They've got the physicality to bully teams, but they've also got the skill to outplay anyone. This is no longer the Forest team scrambling to avoid relegation. They're a team nobody wants to face. But here's the big question. Can Forest actually go all the way and win the Premier League this season? Now, as we said, what Nottingham Forest is doing right now feels like déjà vu from Leicester City's legendary 2016 Premier League win. Leicester had just clawed their way out of the Championship, and then, boom, they won the league the very next season. That was just pure madness. The twist, though, is that Nottingham Forest has history. They were giants once, a team with 2 European Cups in the bag. Leicester? Well, not so much, but the similarities in their style are undeniable, both thriving on solid defense and devastating counterattacks. It makes you wonder, could Forest pull off something just as miraculous? But then there's Liverpool. Let's be honest, Liverpool is playing like an unstoppable machine right now. Sure, Forest managed to beat them earlier this season, but let's face it, pulling that off twice? That's a tall order. Unless Liverpool gets hit with an injury crisis or somehow Mo Salah forgets how to play football, they're the favourites for the title. Now, Forest has been punching above their weights, there's no doubt, but against the league's heavyweights, it's been a mixed bag. They were dismantled 3-0 by Man City, who weren't even at their best, and suffered similar losses to Arsenal and Newcastle. It seems like the top-tier teams still have their number. But here's the exciting part. They've also pulled off shock wins, beating teams they had no business beating. And not just scraping by, but dominating. Sitting in third place after 20 games, that's incredible. Who saw this coming? Definitely not me. And remember, Leicester in 2015-16 was sitting in second after 20 games with 40 points. They ended up smashing expectations, winning the league with 81 points, 10 clear of Arsenal. Forest, they're right there, with 40 points after 20 games. Third place only because of goal difference. That's a dream season for their fans. Think about it, Leicester's odds to win the league back then were 5,000 to 1. Forest, they were 100,000 to 1 at the start of the season. That's not even the craziest part. Odds of finishing the top 4 were 100 to 1, while a top 6 finish was 80 to 1. Most people thought they'd be fighting for survival again. And fast forward 6 months, look at them now. Here's the kicker. In Premier League history, only 4 teams with 40 points after 20 games have failed to finish in the top 4. So it's fair to say Forest is on the brink of something special. Champions League football is in sight. Okay, maybe that's a bit ambitious, but European football? That's almost a certainty. It would be their first European campaign since 1995-96. Just like Nottingham Forest in the Premier League, another team had been on a surprising rise in Serie A this season.